Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Maravindadalaya Taksham Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Nandar Atom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Andaniya Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Bhakti Kayanti Tiranaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jayo Radhe Shyam, Jayo Radhe Shyam. Jayo Radhe Shyam, Jayo Radhe Shyam. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma. Vando mui savadhano mate. Vando mui savadhano mate. Jahar prasade bhai bhavato riyaja. Jahar prasade bhai bhavato riyaja. Krishna prapti hoye jahan hoite. Krishna prapti hoye jahan hoite. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete ko riya ekya. Padma vakya chitete ko riya ekya. Arna kori hamane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ei Seu ये पश्चादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान थिलो यही जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से ही चक्षुदान थिलो यही जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से ही दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ है थे अविद्या विनाशयते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ है थे अविद्या विनाशयते वेदे गाय अहर चरितो वेदे गाय अहर चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोके ना लोकेर जीवन शीला प्रभुपा लोकेर जीवन हाँ प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया हाँ प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया एबे आज घुसुकु त्रिभुवन शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावन श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोके ना लोकेर जीवन लोके ना लोकेर जीवन हे हा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया हे हा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावन शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावन जय प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा शीला प्रभुपादा शीला प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा शीला प्रभुपादा प्रभुपा 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 नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमो। जय जय प्रभुपाद। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय प्रभुपाद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद। जय चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि 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 बोलो। नित्यानंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद। जय बोलो बोलो हरिनाम बोलो 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 हरिनाम प्लीज चैंट। नित्यानंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद। जय गौरंग महाप्रभु चैतन्य महाप्रभु निताय निताय। निताई गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो निताई 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 गौरांगो निताई 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 गौरांगो निताई गौरांगो गौर हरि बोलो निताई गौरांगो गौर हरि। जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि बोलो जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि। गौरा गौरा गौर हरि बोलो गौरा गौरा गौर हरि। गौरा गौरा गौर हरि बोलो गौरा गौरा गौर हरि निताई गौरांगो गौर हरि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो हरि नाम बोलो Hey Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hey Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hey Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe Shyam Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Follow, please chant Radhe Shyam Radhe Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can do it. You can do it. Hare. Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Vrindavanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Shyama Sundar Radhe Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नष्टकी. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Brahma's Prayer to Lord Krishna. Text 48 to 50. So text 48 has a very two-line purport and text 49 is having no purport, so we'll discuss on text 50. So I'll just recite 48 and 49 shloka and then translation. Text 48. Adyanena mahavyalo yashodananda sunana Hato avita vayam chasmad iti bala braje jagu. Translation. As the cowherd boys reached the village of Braja, they sang, "Today Krishna saved us by killing a great serpent." Some of the boys described Krishna as the son of Yashoda and others as the son of Nand Maharaj. Purport. Actually, Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasur 1 year earlier, but the boys, bewildered by the mystic potency of Brahma for 1 year, did not notice the time passing and thus thought that on that very day Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura and was now returning home with them. Text 49. Shri Raja Vacha Brahman Paro Bhave Krishne Yan Prema Katham Bhavet Yoga Bhuta Purvastokeshu Svodbhaveshu Api Kathyatam. King Parikshit said, "O Brahmana, how could the cowherd woman have developed for Krishna, someone else's son, such unprecedented pure love? Love they never felt even for their own children. Please explain this." Now I'll recite text 50. Shri Shuka Vacha Sarvesham api bhutanam Nripa Swatmaiva Vallabha Itare apatye vitadyas Tadvallabhatyaiva hi. Shri Shuka Vacha Sarvesham api bhutanam Nripa Swatmaiva Vallabha Itare apatya vitadyas Tadvallabhatyaiva hi.
Sarvesham api bhutanam Dripa svatmaiva vallabha Itare svatya vitadyas Tadvalabhatayai vahe
Mataji's. Synonyms. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Sukdev Goswami said, Sarvesham, for all, api, indeed, bhutanam, created living beings, Nripa, O king, Swatma, one's own self, Eva, certainly, Vallabha, dearmost, Itare, others, Apatya, children, Vitta, wealth, Adya, and so on. Tad, of that self, Vallabhatya, based on the dearness, Evahi, indeed. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-yoga Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Shri Sukdev Goswami said, O King, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything else, children, wealth, and so on, is due only to the dearness of the self. Please repeat. Sukdev Goswami said, O King, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything else, children, wealth, and so on, is due only to the dearness of the self. Purport. Sometimes modern thinkers become puzzled when they study the psychology of moral behavior. Although every living entity is inclined towards self-preservation, as stated here, sometimes a person voluntarily sacrifices his own apparent interest through philanthropic or patriotic activities, such as giving his money for the benefits of others or giving his life for the national interest. Such so-called selfless behavior appears to contradict the principle of material self-centeredness and self-preservation. As explained in this verse, however, a living entity serves his society, nation, family, and so on only because these objects of affection represent the expanded concept of false ego. A patriot sees himself as the great servitor of a nation, and thus he sacrifices his life to gratify his sense of egotism. Similarly, it is common knowledge that a man feels great pleasure by thinking that he is sacrificing everything to please his dear wife and children. A man derives great egoistic pleasure by seeing himself as a selfless well-wisher of his so-called family and community. Thus, to gratify his proud sense of false ego, a man is prepared even to lay down his life. This apparently contradictory behavior is yet another demonstration of the bewilderment of material life, which has neither rhyme nor reason, being a manifestation of gross ignorance of the non-material soul. ओम अज्ञान तिमिरांधस्य ज्ञानांजना श्लाघ्य चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सा अद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादां सगण ललिता श्री विशाखावितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So seeking the blessings of all Vaishnavas here, although I am not fit to speak, but somehow I was remembering Prabhupada used to insist all the devotees to speak always about Krishna, to glorify Krishna at every opportunity you get. So considering this, I'll just try to repeat what I have heard from Parampara. So this section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Lord Brahma got bewildered by the illusory potency of the Lord, and then he realizes his mistake. He is offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, and as we know, all past time we discussed in previous classes, when Parikshit Maharaj is now asking, how is that the cows and all the children, the cowherd boys, they become so dear to their parents. So in that context, Sukadeva Goswami is answering in today's verse. So here Sukadeva Goswami, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is telling that the dearmost thing in this world is his own self. A person's most dearmost thing is his own self, he is saying. Even more dear than their children and wealth and so on. And we like our children, our wealth, just because they belong to me. So here Sukdev Goswami is saying that a person love his own self. So Prabhupada in his class, in Srimad Bhagavatam class, he was giving here in Vrindavan, and he was telling that this body is meant to serve others. Like, even this body doesn't belong to us, and the body is meant to serve others. And the conditioned soul is thinking that this body belongs to me. And under illusion, he is trying to enjoy this body. But this body is not meant for his enjoyment. This body is meant to serve others. This is what Prabhupada says. How? Because through his body, he is, although he is trying to enjoying his senses by interaction with this material world, but at the end he is feeling unsatisfied. But if through this same body, when he tries to serve others, as in the purport it is mentioned, a man is feeling great satisfaction when he sacrifices something for other. And why he feels that satisfaction? Because his false ego gets satisfied. So, coming to the point that it is because of the false ego, a person is trying to enjoy this material world. As we all know that a conditioned soul, because of his independent desires, opinion, he has come to this material world and he is trying to enjoy this material world. And this false ego is that knot which is connecting the soul with this material world. Otherwise, soul is spiritual, this whole world is material, so there is no connectivity. The connectivity between the soul, which is a spiritual entity, and the material world is this false ego. And Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it says that the toughest thing to break is not a diamond or metal. The toughest thing is this false ego. It is so hard that even time factor cannot destroy it. The Gajendra, in Gajendra prayer, Gajendra prays that even the time factor cannot destroy this false ego. As we know that as time passes, the things get destroyed. The things get, dwindling. But false ego is such a thing that even a time factor cannot destroy. How? Because the conditioned soul is keep on desiring to enjoy this material world, and when the creation gets end, when this material world is destroyed, still the desire remains to enjoy. And the conditioned souls are all compacted in the body of Mahavishnu. And when the time for the creation occur, again those souls carrying those same desires to enjoy independently, and they continue their material life. So for millions and millions of years, the conditioned souls are wandering in this material world. Still the false ego is not destroyed. So false ego is such a thing that it can go beyond the time. Unless and until a jiva himself work on it, it cannot be destroyed. So that's why this Srimad Bhagavatam is comparing that false ego is the most toughest thing to get rid of. So another thing which false ego is compared with is honey. So as we know, honey has two characteristics. One, it is very sweet, and second, it is intoxicating if it is in excess amount. So false ego means what? All that false conception we are carrying about ourselves, that we are so great and we have done so many things. So when other people come to us and tell us that you are so great, so we feel something nice, we feel sweet. And when then keep on telling the same thing again and again in every different circumstances, we start getting intoxicated. So scripture has compared this false ego with honey. It is very sweet, and if it is in excess amount, we get intoxicated. So Krishna comes in this material world and try to protect us, especially devotees, from this false ego through various ways. One is through his instructions, what he is giving in Bhagavad-Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ahankar vimudhatma kartamiti manyate, and Bhoktaram yagat tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram, suridam sarva bhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. And second, Krishna helps the conditioned soul through his pastimes. When a conditioned soul hears about the pastime of Krishna, how he killed so many demons, how he protected Vrajvasis by lifting Govardhan hill, then any sane, intelligent person will step back and will reconsider, oh, here is that, he is the actual supreme person. He is a genuinely protector and controller. I am not great, he is great. I am insignificant. So through these various ways, Lord Krishna is helping us, and he is also sending his devotees. He is also sending spiritual master to help the jiva to get out of this false ego. So once Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and he was in his room, and he was ringing the bell, calling his servant, but nobody was coming. So Prabhupada went outside and called the servant, and he chastised him like anything. And one sannyasi disciple was observing this. And after a few minutes, he went inside to Prabhupada's room. He paid obeisances. He asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, how we should feel when a spiritual master is angry with us? He asked. So Prabhupada said, you should be grateful that you are getting attention from your spiritual master. In this material world, conditioned souls are wandering, and nobody is, they are all neglected. But if a spiritual master is giving you an attention, means it is a mercy on you. So then Prabhupada said that you may feel uncomfortable, but you should take it as a serious matter for rectification. So through this pastime we understand that unless we allow Guru and Vaishnavas to interfere in our life, we cannot get rid of this false ego. And in the name of doing services and preaching, we may get puffed up, but we need devotees association, we need the spiritual master who can, keep us on the track. So this false ego is very subtle thing and very difficult, and so therefore the treatment has to be taken. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur compares the temples with the hospital. So one cannot get cured simply by visiting hospital or wandering in the lobby of the hospital. We have to make sincere efforts. And what is that effort? That we have to open us to subject our skin to the pain of piercing injection through which the medicine gets enter, and allow the medicine to enter our system to start the treatment. Unless we allow this, simply by visiting hospital or roaming in the lobby, we cannot say that our disease get cured. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that these temples, the Vaishnava Sangha, is an opportunity given to you. So unless we utilize this opportunity, we cannot get the proper return for which we have come here to take an association. So we need to have a conscious efforts to cure our disease. Otherwise, Bahu Janma Yadi Kare Sarvana Kirtan Tabu Tanu Payana Krishna Premadhan. So in spite of chanting for so many births, a conditioned soul cannot get Krishna Prem. So our disease is like we don't want to do devotional service in an uninterrupted manner. Prabhupada used to say that our devotional should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. But we want some rest, we want some break, we want some enjoyment while doing our services. And this is our disease. So services come, we do the service, and when we are continuing our services, we ask, how long I have to do this service? But in the spiritual world, we see that the service goes on eternally. A devotee is offering fan to the Lord, and he is offering fan eternally to the Supreme Lord. So if by chance a conditioned soul reaches to that spiritual world, and once we go there, we can never come back. And suppose we go without getting purified, and we are asked to offer a chama to the Lord, then what we ask? How long? And we cannot return to this material world. And that's why, Krishna makes sure that not a single entity enters into his abode without getting purified. And because Krishna is intensely desiring all of us to come back to his home, but we are not purified yet, and he cannot bring us to his abode right now. So he is sending devotees, and he is putting us into various circumstances, into various situations of pains and pleasures. And we are tested that do you want Krishna or enjoyment? During pain, you want Krishna or enjoyment? During pleasure, you want Krishna or enjoyment? So every moment, we are tested. And this test, how to respond to such test is being taught in Srimad Bhagavatam. How to respond to the situation. Now various devotees are undergoing test at the extreme level. Our scriptures are actually presenting the situation where devotees have to undergo an extreme test. Ambarish Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Kunti Maharani, Pandavas, they didn't underwent a simple, normal crisis, but it was an extreme crisis. And in that extreme crisis, how a devotee responds, that Srimad Bhagavatam is telling. So, continuous practice of Krishna consciousness, help us to evolve our consciousness. It helps us to get rid of our all anarthas, and over the period of time, a consciousness get purified. In 11th canto, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very interesting example that a betel nut, betel nut is green color and it has all the ingredients inside. So when a person chew the betel nut, he is chewing the betel nut and chewing for, say suppose 30 minutes he is chewing and chewing, the color gets converted into dark red. Originally the color was green. And by looking at betel nut, one cannot expect that it will get converted into red color. But over the chewing process, gradually it gets converted into red color. But by looking at betel nut, we cannot conclude that it will be transformed into red color. Similarly, while practicing Krishna consciousness, we are offering Arati to the Lord, we are bowing down to the Lord, we are serving the devotees, we are chanting our rounds, we are following regulative principles. So these are all ingredients of that betel nut. So when we keep practicing this process, over the period of time, the color of consciousness starts changing. And gradually, when we keep on chewing and chewing and chewing, right now we won't be able to understand how this process will purify me, how this process will change my consciousness. But when we keep on chewing, we keep on practicing, it changes the color of our consciousness, and in this way we get purified. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this very interesting example of betel nut. So, as it is said in the purport that this manifestation of gross ignorance, that this false ego is a manifestation of gross ignorance of the non-material soul. So this false ego or any anartha is a manifestation of our gross ignorance. And what is that ignorance? Srila Prabhupada says every time that we have forgotten our constitutional position, that we are servant of Krishna. So any person who helps us to revive this consciousness, to revive our servitorship to Krishna, that person is called Guru. It may be Pad Pradarshak Guru or Siksha Guru or Diksha Guru, but any person who helps to change the desire of a conditioned soul, who helps to change the opinions and priorities of a conditioned soul, that person is called Guru. And Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Guru is invested with Chit Shakti of the Lord, the knowledge potency of the Lord. Because through that knowledge, the Guru gives to the conditioned soul that by serving Krishna, by serving devotees of Krishna, you will become happy, you will be much better and more luxurious and a long-term alternative to your struggle in this material world. So anyone who helps to transmit this knowledge becomes Guru. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, gives emphasis on distributing books. Why? Because we become the instrument of transmission of that knowledge, of that divine knowledge, which helps conditioned soul to change his desires, to change his opinions, to give up his stubborn desires. So unless Guru intervenes, unless devotees intervenes in our life, we cannot give up our false ego. So because of this independent mentality, we think an exalted Vaishnava to an ordinary Vaishnava. And because of this same independent mentality, we consider an ordinary Vaishnava to an exalted Vaishnava. Just like you might have heard, or we all have heard, that Prabhupada, we see that Prabhupada was absorbed in preaching Krishna consciousness, but his classes are very simple, very basic. We are not his body, we are spirit, soul, and we are servant of Krishna. So many people, they say that Prabhupada is not speaking much about, intimate pastimes of Krishna's or Rasa Tattva. And in this way, many people consider that Prabhupada is not an pure devotee. So this is all because of that independent mentality and false desire, because of which they are thinking exalted Vaishnava to an ordinary person. So Prabhupada, although did not discuss much about Krishna's intimate pastimes, but we know that Krishna's pastimes are in a Madhurya Ras, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Audarya Bhav. And Audarya Bhav is higher than Madhurya Bhav. And Audarya Bhav means liberal distribution of Krishna consciousness to every conditioned soul. That is Audarya Bhav. So Prabhupada was in that Audarya Bhav, that he was distributing Krishna consciousness to every conditioned soul. He was trying his best to distribute this Krishna consciousness. So that Audarya Bhav is higher than the Madhurya Bhav. So in that way, we have to understand that not by our tiny brain, as Prabhupada used to say, this tiny insignificant brain, through this tiny insignificant brain we cannot understand what is the actual thing. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, we have to face so many obstacles. As I said, that Krishna is putting us in various situations and various tests of pains and pleasures, of happiness and distress, of getting glorification or getting insults. So these various tests Krishna is testing us. But many times, because of our weakness, we may fail the test, and we may say that we get distracted, we get deviated, or the consciousness get diluted. But the thing is that distraction happens not because of the external environment. Many times people blame to the situation, blame to the people, but the thing is, distraction is not caused by an external environment. Example is given in this regard, that suppose we lost a bag of money containing crores of rupees. We lost that in a Kumbh Mela, for example. Now, because we know the value of that money, we will try to find out that bag in spite of so many crowds, in spite of so many distractions. So many vehicles are creating sounds and noise, but we will be very focused that where is that bag, because we have realized that importance. Similarly, the distraction which we get in our Krishna consciousness life, that is not because of external circumstances, that is only because our intention, our conviction is not very strong. And because we are not sure what we are looking for, we get distracted. Once we know that what is important for me, what I need actually, and we are convinced with that, no matter how much distraction we get in our surroundings, we will not be deviated, because our intention is deep. Just like Haridas Thakur was tested by a prostitute, but he was not distracted. Why? Because his intention was deep. Ajamil also saw the same situation, but he was distracted because his intention was not deep. So both these personalities faced a similar situation. One character passed this, one character failed because of intention, because of his conviction. So unless we are convinced with our philosophy, unless we are convinced that I am a servant, we have full chances that we may get distracted. So our ideal intention should be that I am servant and my duty is to serve the Lord. So this intention, what we are carrying, this intention, the more this foundation is strong, the more, even if the external storm comes, the building won't fall. Sometimes we see that a heavy storm comes and building falls down. But the building is not falling because of the storm. The building is falling because of weak foundation. Foundation is weak, that's why the building fell. Not because the storm was just an situation. Similarly, once we are very deeply founded in our desire and intention that I am servant, we can pass all the challenges and obstacles. So now biggest challenge for us is that we have to do devotion with right intention, and that intention gets translated into the prayers of what we are chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is a prayer. What we are praying, O Radha, O Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is what we are asking. So when a devotee is convinced, when a steady devotee is convinced that he is a servant and he keep on praying to Lord to give me, please engage me in your service, please engage me in your service. And he is keep on asking and he keep on looking the opportunity, where can I get the opportunity to serve. Even if there are so many distractions and deviations and so many opportunities for sense gratification, that devotee is simply focused that he is a servant and he is looking for the service. So now the challenge is that we have to do devotion with right intention, with strong foundation. And many times we pass, many times we fail. Like there is a pastime of Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada used to carry a small bag in which he was having some documents, and it was a small bag, and a disciple was desiring that I can get this bag as a Mahaprasad. So he thought that I'll gift a big bag to Srila Prabhupada and in return I'll get that small bag. So he purchased a big bag and he offered it to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, this bag is for you. This small bag, you might be, it is very old, you can carry this big bag. So Prabhupada looked at the bag, he opened the bag, he put the small bag, he closed this, and he was rotating in the room and he was asking his disciple how I am looking. So that disciple was saying yes. But Prabhupada said, do you want that small bag? So disciple said, yes, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, then ask directly. Don't revolve around the situation. So thing is, we are sometimes challenged with our intentions because our intentions are not pure, and the Guru and devotees, they can identify, because as it is said, the senses are purified by austerities, the mind is purified by chanting, and the intelligence is purified by reading scriptures, and the false ego is purified by association of devotees. So the false ego is purified by association of devotees, by association of spiritual master, and the more we keep ourselves in the Vaishnava Sangha and more we allow ourselves for the improvements, we can get the help. So we should not, worry about our anarthas. We should not worry about our shortcomings, because ultimately we have to become Krishna consciousness, not the anartha consciousness. So the more we think about Krishna, the more we think of how I can serve nicely, the more we get advanced. And over the period of time, through services, through association, we get purified. And Krishna will take care of our shortcomings if we are sincerely trying, if we are sincerely, praying and we are sincerely allowing ourselves to come into the Vaishnava Sanghas and get purified. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is telling that I am fool, I am fallen, I am insignificant, I have uncontrolled senses. He is saying to himself while writing this book. But then he is saying that what is my qualification? Vaishnava Agya Bale. The instruction of Vaishnavas is my strength. So the will of devotees, the instructions of devotees is my strength. And that's why he's at the end of every chapter he is saying, the lotus feet of Srila Rup and Sri Raghunath is my wealth and is my strength. So he has more faith. He is showing that he has more faith in the devotees than his own skill. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami at the age of 90, he is writing that literature. For an ordinary person, it may feel that how he is writing the book at the age of 90. The book which is already written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And at the age of 90, he is trying to recollect. At the age of 90, generally people forget the things. And Kaviraj Goswami is trying to recollect the things. So it may feel that he is an imposter. Suppose a person at the age of 90 says that I want to become a yoga teacher. His body has worn out, his parts are breaking and he wants to become a yoga teacher. But Kaviraj Goswami, what he is saying that he is not having faith on his skills, he is not having faith on his intelligence, he is having faith on the instructions of the Vaishnavas, on the blessings of the Vaishnavas. And in that mood, he has written the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's why we should not worry about our shortcomings, but we should have faith on the association, on our spiritual master, on the process. Then we'll be able to progress quickly. Because Krishna consciousness is not about demonstration of our skills, but it is all about improving our consciousness. So this consciousness that Kaviraj Goswami is expressing while writing this literature, that mood and that consciousness we have to imbibe, and gradually rest things, Krishna will take care. Yeah, so this is what I would like to share. Any comments or any questions? Anybody having some devotees can share and can give more light on this subject matter. Yes.
We want to serve the Guru in the mission, but sometimes the Guru gives us something we don't like to do, or we're not happy with it, and maybe get angry at the Guru. So how do we deal with that issue in we find ourselves in an awkward situation. We may want to do something, but the Guru tells us to do something else.
Yeah, so that is what I was saying, that we have to allow ourselves, because we have one desire, Guru has another desire. So when Guru is asking us to do something, we may feel pain inside, that I don't want to do this, but Guru is asking me. So that pain is there. So that pain and pleasure situation, Krishna is testing us, how much we are surrendered, and how much we are focused, how much we are deep with our intention, that whether I want to serve in a serving mood or I want to serve in a enjoying mood. So that Krishna through Guru and devotee is testing us, he is purifying us. So in that way we can consider the situation.
Hare.
Yes, bro.
You have given the example of Ajamin and Haridas. So, Haridas passed the test and Ajamin failed the test. But Lord gave him the mercy.
To whom?
Ajamin.
Haan.
So we have to live in that way, thinking that if I have any shortcomings, so Lord will give me some mercy.
Yes. Yeah, so, because Ajamil repented for what mistake he did, and he sincerely tried to improve that, he became the recipient of the Lord's mercy. So similarly, if we also become sincere, if our intentions are pure and we are very focused, the Lord will bless us.
Hare Krishna. So in the synonyms for verse 50, I noticed in the synonyms that the word tat is given
Self.
Yeah, the self.
Hmm.
And just a few days ago, I can't remember which verse it was, but the same word tat is referred to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like we say, like in the Vedas it said Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat. So tat generally refers to that which is eternal existence, non-bliss. So Om Tat Sat meaning Chit Shakti. So I think in the verse, I just like to get your comment on this, or any comments or feedback on this. My personal reflection in the synonyms and the translation and the purport, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like I was just meditating on this. There's like a block in my mind. This word tat refers to purified ego rather than false ego. Like, because we're Vaishnavas, so the Catholic boys, and the mothers of the Catholic boys, they're experiencing greater affection for their sons, like not in the sense that the self and Krishna have become one and the same thing. The ego, like Sankarshan is a manifestation of that ego, like so there's Vasudeva Sankarshan, So Sankarshan is purified ego. So tat in the synonyms there refers to purified self. Like we still have a sense of self. And we always do have a sense, like in Bhagavad-Gita it says, so the self is eternal. So like why are the mothers experiencing greater affection for their sons even though they're being replaced by expansion of Krishna? It's still, I don't know how to put it into words. Does it make any sense what I'm saying? We're always eternal self.
Yeah, we are
And
eternal self.
Tat refers to the self.
The self.
Eternal self.
Yeah, the self. See, there are two egos. One is false ego, one is true ego. So we have to embrace the true ego and we have to give up the false ego. We cannot give up ego altogether. Ego is that I am existing. But the false ego is that I am this body, and the true ego is that I am the servant of Krishna. But I always exist. The self, as you said, self is eternal. So I exist either as an enjoyer which is false ego, or I exist as a servant, which is true ego. But I will exist in both the situation. So that self, that third is being said, that the self remains eternal. But it is our choice to exist as a enjoyer or exist as a servant. Yeah. So anything else? Yes. Yes, bro. Next. Actually cannot hear, actually. Can speak little louder. Yes, bro. Yeah.
So thank you very much. The question is like not question, but like I just said, Krishna don't allow contaminated soul who is false ego in spiritual world. But this is, I think, this is Maya's service. She doesn't allow any conditions.
Yeah, big Krishna doesn't allow means Krishna has appointed Maya for this service. That you won't allow any soul without getting purified to enter in my dham. So this is, Krishna has appointed Maya. So Maya is working on behalf of Krishna.
But still Krishna is busy in some other things.
Yeah, Krishna is, he is busy in his pastimes, but at the same time he is desiring to reclaim all the conditioned souls back to his abode. And that's why he is sending devotees. Yes. Thank you. So, yes, one last.
Sometimes we some difference in opinion with our devotee who's trying to advise us or correct us. So in that case, if our opinions doesn't match and it doesn't fit to our consciousness or understanding, so what should we do? So we should approach a senior Vaishnava or we should allow him to correct us at that time.
So we can do two things during that time. One, as you said, we should approach a senior Vaishnava. And second, we should scan our consciousness. What is my mood and what is my intention? Why there is conflict? So whether whether my mood and my consciousness is proper or not, and at the same time we should check with some senior devotees and resolve the issue that way. So thank you very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की